Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 52nd episode of 6 Degrees of Feature Film. I am Elizabeth Shue, the replaced Jennifer, also known as Brienne, also known as Miss Movies.
And I'm Einstein.
You can be
I
Einstein.
can be Einstein, also known as Stacey Howard. Do we have Doc Brown on the show today?
Maybe we do. You know who we have? Marty McFly. Yes, we
You
do.
know, I would love to say that I'm Marty McFly in this scenario. I think it's more accurate to say that I'm like Crispin Glover, who didn't really want to show up for Back to the Future 2, but was kind of wedged in anyway.
Does that mean you didn't want to show up for this show today? Is
No,
that what you're saying, Mark?
I wanted to be here. Y'all just had to wedge me in uncomfortably, but now we're here and we're ready to rock. So
We are, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Ellis. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you.
Mark, we're so excited that you're on the show today, talking Back to the Future 2, since that's our feature film. But before we get started, I want to let people know what our show's all about. Our show is called 6 Degrees of Feature Film. Hey, hi. And what we do is we take one film and we show how 6 other films link up to it in some strange way, shape, or form. We had like movies that have horses in it last week. So so we do some weird links. Anyways, we're going to get into that soon. I want to have Mark tell us a little bit about himself, just in case there are people watching that have no idea who Mark Ellis is.
There's a lot of people. I still, here's the thing is that I think the baseball player Mark Ellis retired finally.
Oh, there you
so
go.
now
Good.
I get to be the preeminent, still working in the prime of my youth Mark Ellis, as opposed to the other Mark Ellis. So it was really exciting having a guy with my name be in the major leagues. Like nothing will replace the thrill of seeing the name Mark Ellis on the Sports Center crawl and just seeing that Mark Ellis had a home run. Like there's just nothing. And I wasn't even the guy doing it. It just felt really good to see that there's a Mark Ellis that is out there in the sports world kicking ass. But as for me, I just like telling jokes and talking about movies. So I have forged somewhat of a regional celebrity fame doing so, and it's gotten me into this great office here at Collider Studios, where I finally get to display the way it should be displayed, one of my prized possessions, thanks to the one, the only Miss Movies, Young Guns 2.
That's right. You talk about it so much that I was like, I feel the need to buy this for you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, I was thinking about today, I'm like, does she like Young Guns 2 as much as I do, or did she just like feel bad for me that I just like this movie so much?
No, well, the other part is, first of all, that you love Young Guns too, but that you have pretty much been my unofficial co-host of my previous podcast called Miss Movies Minute. You were on like every episode, so I was like kind of like my thank you to you for doing that.
I was happy to be your Ed McMahon and still am.
Oh, thanks.
I like that he was the warm-up, but then I'm like the big guns that comes in. I'm
That's
like
right.
the real co-host.
That's right.
I just wanted to get the hot tub frothing for Stacy. That's all my job is.
Nice. I love it. Let's get
So
into it.
yeah, let's do it. So our feature film, ladies and gentlemen, is Back to the Future 2.
Yay!
Hooray! Because the first episode we did on this show was Back to the Future, which Stacy had never seen until I assigned it to her.
Yes.
What?
I know. It took me forever. And okay, last night was the first time I had seen Back to the Future Part 2. And I loved it so much that I went on to watch Part 3.
You weren't allowed to do that because then we're supposed to do that next year.
A little bit. we gotta split these up a little bit.
I know, because you gotta know what happens.
They filmed those two at the same time. They filmed Part 2 and Part 3 at the same time. So I had to watch them at the same time.
Okay.
All right.
I get it.
Don't be mad at me.
So for those of you that don't know, kind of like Stacy didn't know until last night, this is the continuation of the story of Marty McFly. After visiting 2015, he must repeat his visit to 1955 to prevent disastrous changes to 1985, Trump's 1985, without interfering with his first trip. So there it is.
Yeah, Trump and Biff kind of have the same hair. You know, you could definitely see Biff working towards what Trump currently has on his head.
They absolutely have the same hair. That's so crazy that you said that. And the same kind of egotistical mentality and general evilness, I would say. They probably shoot at people as well.
Maybe that's how Trump got to prominence in business. Maybe instead of having like a sports almanac, he had like a Wall Street Journal that he went back in time and could look at all the stocks that were going to be doing well, and so that's how he made his money. That's the only logical explanation I have.
Maybe. I think there's a few wrong facts in that book then, because he still failed a few times and went bankrupt.
It's funny because Back to the Future 2, it's like I don't consider Back to the Future 2 a great movie at all.
No.
I don't.
I don't either.
There's something about it that still feels magical, even though I don't think it holds up to the first one at all. There's just something about Back to the Future 2. Maybe it's just the neat concept of the future and what 2015 was going to be. Maybe it's the hoverboard. It's something as simple as that. But there's something that's very charming about Back to the Future 2 that I've never quite been able to put my finger on. Even though if I'm watching it, my takeaway thought is this is not as good as the original. Nothing might be as good as the original, but it's nice to be back in that universe again.
It is. Okay, so I've thought about this a lot because I'm like, there's so many problems with this movie. But I'm like, you have to go to the future because people want to see the future.
Right.
And what they do back in 1955 as they like weave it through, like that's the best part to me of the film is like, but in order to do all that, they have to have some sort of problem when they get back to 1985, but there's just too much jumping around. So I'm like, if it were today, this movie would have been split into 2 parts.
Oh, for
we
sure.
probably would have seen more of the future, or we would have seen more of Biff's Trump's 1985. But yeah, there's so much that I appreciate about it, but I'm just like, it's trying to do too much for me.
Yeah, I think it's more of a fun movie to reference than it is actually to sit down and watch start to finish, because you're right. I do love the alternate look at 1985. I think that going to 2015 initially is a lot of fun, but the movie really doesn't pick up for me and shift into third gear until we're finally back in 1955 and we have to relive some of the events of the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Yeah, and we got to do Johnny Be Good, which
of course
we know is your song.
Absolutely, man.
I liked that that was my favorite part too, is that we went back to 1955 and there were like the 2 sets of Doc Brown and Marty. And so I liked that you got to see an alternate version of those scenes from like a different viewpoint. I liked that a lot. I thought that was really clever in the way that they did everything in the split screens. And it freaked me the fuck out when Michael J. Fox's face comes into view in the future as his daughter. I was like, what? Oh, yeah. I didn't know that was going to happen. And it threw me for
It's like a nutty professor.
It's
sort of
super nutty professor. And he had great legs, by the way. His legs were better than my legs will ever be. No matter how many like Stairmaster, things that I do.
He was skateboarding. He's
hoverboarding,
That's right.
You have to stay on that little pogo stick or whatever.
Skating builds up the calves for sure.
It does indeed. And I really liked the future scenes. I would, like you said, I wish they were longer. I wish it was like that was more of a focus in the film, but I thought it was funny to see all the little nostalgia pieces they have in there and all the little like the CGI kind of looks bad, but it got nominated for an Oscar for that, actually, I think. For the CGI, for special effects or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it came out in I think it came out in 89, and then Back to the Future 3 was the next year in 90. But the impressive thing to me about it is that they were able to surf through this movie, because I referenced it at the top of the show, is that Crispin Glover had some contract issue. He didn't want to come back for the money they were offering him, and so they had to write out one of the major characters of Back to the Future 2, and they had to kind of do it on the fly. I mean, I would love to talk to Robert Zemeckis and just actually get the lowdown on how much of the script they had to change because they weren't able to get because they had to cheat a lot of those Crispin Glover scenes. I think they even took some footage from Back to the Future and put his performance in that into Back to the Future 2. So they had to do some weird stuff. But my takeaway from the movie is like, it's fun to go back to 1955 and see that magical night from a different perspective. But Back to the Future 2, you had this great future template you set up, and they never really have it pay off in a meaningful way other than it just sets up the events before we go back in time again. It would have been nice to have like a different payoff in 2015 as opposed to just going back and going through the events. Now, having said all that, I still love going back to 1955, and I will never say no to 1955 in any movie simply because I love it so much in Back to the Future.
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's my favorite part, that loop. But I also appreciate that Michael J. Fox found out that there was going to be a sequel when he watched a VHS copy of Back to the Future, and at the end it said to be continued. And he was like, wait a minute. So then he gets on the phone. Hold on. Are we doing another movie? What's happening? I like how people don't say anything.
It just felt like a right thing to do. And even if they never did a sequel to Back to the Future, I love the way that movie ended, because we just went on this crazy adventure and we finally get a chance to catch our breath. And it just gives us these little notes of, oh no, there's something else going on in the space-time continuum that we got to go fix. Doc in the future. I love the Mr. Fusion angle. And to the movie's credit, it starts off so well because we see what future transportation is going to be like and how frightening it is that you got all these crazy people in flying cars all over the place. That's why we can't have flying cars. There would be so many near misses. There'd be so many accidents up in the air and just cars coming crashing down to earth. Thank God we don't live in that 2015.
It would be just as bad as it is today because you'd have to have regulations. So I feel like you're just taking a problem and just moving it higher.
Just moving up and making it just more risky because
Right.
there is, you could just go into a free fall. If what if you run out of gas and your car stalls? I don't think there's AAA for death. If you fall and just die.
That's a good sound bite. I don't think there's AAA for death. Good.
Yeah, I think it's just the good old fashioned coroner, Stacey. That'd be a great slogan for a funeral home. Hi, we're AAA for death.
That's perfect. Billy Zane is in this movie, you guys. He's one of Biff's cronies.
Yeah, but he was in the first one too?
I guess. Yeah.
Billy Zane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Billy Zane. But I didn't recognize him at first because he has a cowboy hat on. Why are they wearing cowboy hats?
It was retro, man. I actually have a buddy, the piano player at the Comedy Store, Jeff Scott, who's a wonderful human being, is actually in that bar scene in Back to the Future 2 at the beginning. And I think Elijah Wood is in that scene too. There's a very young Elijah Wood in Back to the Future 2. So
he's playing a video game.
Yeah,
right.
Hat on. He looks
like
a
baby's
bit
toy.
like you right now, Mark. If you put your hat back just a little further,
just like that. I have to put it up. Or?
Oh, Elijah? What? Oh my God! How do we get Elijah Wood on our show?
I don't know.
Elijah Wood is the 7th most celebrity lookalike that I get, because I think I kind of resemble him, but it's nothing compared to either the Michael Bublé's or the Topher Graces of the world, even the Eminems and Justin Timberlakes. I get more than Elijah Wood, but and then the dude from Force Awakens. So Elijah Wood is way down there on the list.
That's true.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to move it to our first links for time. So what we did was we're going to take Back to the Future 2, and we're going to link it to movies that have time machines.
Yeah.
We'll keep it simple. And let's start with Napoleon Dynamite, which came out August 27th, 2004. For those that have not seen it, it's about a listless and alienated teenager that decides to help a new friend win class presidency in their small Western high school, while he must deal with his bizarre family life back home. I was like, bizarre family life back home sounds like he's away at college or something, but he's just at high school. So I love IMDb synopses. Synapse. Anyways, that's all I got. So yeah, Napoleon Dynamite. This is one of those surprise kind of hits.
Yeah,
because it was so low budget and then did really well because I don't know.
Yeah,
I saw it in theaters.
I don't know if I saw it in theaters. This came out when I was 14 years old, so I was the perfect age to completely quote this movie way too much. Okay. Everyone had a vote for Pedro t-shirt.
Of course they
Freshman year of high school. We were so ridiculous about this film. Every single line, every note, everything was in reference to this movie. I've watched it way, way too much. And I think that kind of ruins it for me because it is so good, but it's so overused and overquoted.
And you probably relate to the agriculture aspect of this film.
I do.
I don't know if you know this about Stacey, but she's got an agriculture background.
I sure do. So he's
I did know that.
Yes, he's an FFA, and he is doing. He's on one of the dairy tests, kind of where you test milk to see the different preservatives that are used and everything. And so I used to do stuff like that for 4-H. I showed animals and livestock, and I did like the food show, and I made pies, and I sewed clothes, and all kinds of 1955 stuff that everyone does. So it was very old school, but I was like, oh, look, he's like it's me, and he has red hair too. I'm pretty much Napoleon Dynamite. Just want everyone to know.
Okay, vote for Stacy.
I remember when Napoleon Dynamite hit, and like I never really, I didn't see it in theaters. I remember it being this huge thing. I think it was a little bit like when Nirvana hit, because it was just different, and people couldn't really put their finger on why it was different. It was just a different kind of sense of humor, and people really responded to it. And I think it holds up okay. It's a very quotable movie. It's never been one of my personal favorites, but I get why people enjoyed it so much.
Mm-hmm. I remember I remember reading the trivia in the town that they shot it in. They hold a Napoleon Dynamite festival every year.
Of course they do.
And
what else are they doing?
They have like tater tots and they have like dance-offs and look-alike contests and all kinds of fun stuff. I want to go to that really bad.
You should find out about it.
I should. If I pin my hair back a little bit and kind of just let my mouth droop a little bit, I can be very John Heater-esque.
We can get you a perm.
Okay, get me a perm. Get me a 3-piece suit. Get some footballs. There's a football toss going on. I'm excited. Let's
that would be maybe the ultimate cosplay, Stacey, is if you went to like a convention or something, or even showed up there and you went full Heater in Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That would be great. Please do that.
I will, and I wouldn't have to say a lot because he doesn't really. It would just be like a strong, silent performance, like the piano. You don't need any words. It's all with the expression.
Could you cut your hair and make it like curly like his? Like would your hair respond the same way if you cut it short? I mean, I'm really going full bore with this.
It would, because as you see, this is a natural right now. Didn't do anything really, and see the little wave right here. So
I'm detecting a wave.
Shorter, if it's shorter, the whole head is going to be woo, just like this little piece right there. So if this is all cut, yeah, it's gonna be a Napoleon Dynamite for sure. I'm going with this, you guys. I'm super excited about this. Comic-Con 2016 did that. 2017, excuse me. Apparently 2016 already happened. I missed it. It wasn't invited. It's fine. Yeah, it's gonna go down. Are you gonna be my Pedro, or would you want to be the love interest in it with the side pony?
I think I'd want to be Kip.
You'd want to be Kip.
Yeah.
And I just have a plate of nachos, part my hair, got those glasses. I could do Kip. Totally.
Do you want to be LaFonda, Mark?
The only person I want to be is LaFonda. That's the right play for me.
That's the only answer I wanted from that. Good job.
I did learn that a liger is a real animal.
Yeah.
It's created when a male lion mates with a female tiger, but it does not have special skills in magic. So that's the mythical part of it.
That's not what scientists aren't going to tell you that. Biologists aren't going to reveal the magic, but there's magic there.
That's true. Very, very true.
I also love that John Heater was like 27 when he was playing a high school kid.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty hilarious.
I'm always amazed at how many people pull that off. Like all those 90210 kids, that original cast, they were like 40 when they were filming that show. And they all just look so much like teenagers. And then you go back and you watch it, you're like, look, Perry's a man. What the hell is he doing?
Yeah.
You know?
When you watch it when you're an adult, you realize, gosh, that really doesn't look like a high school kid at all. But I think he does look very high school-like.
Heater does, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, he only got paid $1,000 to do this movie.
I know.
And it made $40 million. How much does that suck?
Always take the points. If you ever do a shoot for anything, they're like, okay, we can pay you $200 now, or we can give you 1% of whatever the profits of this project may or may not. Always roll the dice and take the points.
Mm-hmm.
That is solid advice, Mark. Hopefully,
I've never taken it myself. I've always taken the money up front, but that's why I need other people to provide the posters for my office.
This is true. Well, you got to pay for baby carrots, every week. So.
Oh my God, my baby carrot intake. It's a gaping wound in my pocketbook. Is my carrot stipend?
What? Okay, I want to know. Just insight. How many baby carrots in a week do you think you consume?
Oh my God! I mean, how many grains of sand are on Cape Cod, Miss Movies? I would say I average a good like probably 2 servings of carrots a day, 2 servings of baby carrots a day. But then I'll have the off day on like a Saturday or Sunday if I'm watching a few football games back to back where the carrots just keep coming in. I mean, my eyesight is flawless. My beta carotene levels through the roof. I'm crushing it with carrots. I'm like Bugs Bunny in human form and less funny.
Do you ever dip the carrots in anything? Nah,
because that just leads to bad habits. I know some people will dip them in like ranch and stuff, and at that point you're really insulting the carrot. You're saying that you are nothing more than a carrier for something more delicious, and it's like you might as well call a carrot a piece of celery at that point. Like it's an insult and it's hurtful. I understand why you asked the question, but it hurts me a little bit that you did.
All right,
I'm sorry. Wait, but hold on a second. The celery is specifically boat-like, so you can fill it. So
it's for peanut butter or raisins. It's for ants on a log. Everyone knows this. It's a very creative snack and delicious and nutritious. Yes. So
I understand though,
my snack time.
Having carrots in their true form. I understand.
Yeah, I honestly I don't like cooked carrots. I don't like them. I don't like them cooked. I'm not going to do it. If they're in soup, I'm fine with it. But I prefer the cold, raw, either baby or fully grown carrots.
You like that crunch. I want to see. Wait, now I'm picturing an image of you with a large carrot with green roots off of it, and just can we?
What's up, Doc?
Gotta see that.
Perfect. Okay.
All right, let's get into our next film, which I recently revisited, and that is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Excellent.
Okay, so back to Napoleon Dynamite for a second. The time machine that I'm talking about, because it's not a time travel movie, is Kip orders a time machine. So there it is. Yeah.
I forgot that he does that.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Time travel a little more prominent in Bill and Ted.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, a little
bit.
Bit.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure came out February 17th, 1989. Two seamlessly dumb teenagers struggle to prepare a historical presentation with the help of a time machine. Yeah, okay. I read some trivia that I thought you would like, Mark, and that is that Van Halen said he would have done this film had someone asked him.
Yeah,
I've heard that as well. Is that nobody asked Eddie? It's just I guess they were one of those bands that, I mean, they were touring pretty heavily during the production of this because they had their OUA12 tour. Then they also had one of the first Monsters of Rock tour that they were headlining. So they were a busy band in the days when they were shooting this. But I think Eddie would have enjoyed popping in for a scene or something, and it would have been fantastic. It never made a whole lot of sense to me that both of these guys are lead guitar players and they want to get another lead guitar player in the band with them. Like, you would think they'd want to go for a drummer. Like, you think they want to go for Alex Van Halen or for, the guy from Rush, get somebody like that in there as opposed to another guitar player. But the fact that they mentioned Eddie Van Halen just warms my heart.
Well, they weren't the smartest and they weren't the best musicians. So sometimes bands are too many cooks in the kitchen or whatever. Who fucking
always knows? You just need those two. I did learn that they originally wanted to use a van as the time machine, but then thought it would be too close to Back to the Future, so they went with a phone booth, even though they weren't worried about Doctor Who. Yeah. But I guess at that time, maybe they were like, well, that's like a British show, so who's watching that?
Yeah, that wasn't that big in America now, I guess. I looked up the director, Stephen Herrick. Okay, he has directed two amazing titles that I really need to draw attention to. One is The Cutting Edge 2, Fire and Ice. Everyone knows I love The Cutting Edge. There's a second movie called The Cutting Edge 2, Fire and Ice, and this director directed. Also, Dolly Parton's Christmas of Many Colors, Circle of Love. I don't know what that is, but I want to watch it. It's listed on IMDb. Why aren't we talking about that on this show? Back to the Future 2.
Is there a time machine in that? Because then maybe we'll talk about it.
Maybe. Well, I mean, I feel like Dolly Parton's face itself is transcendent of time because it never changes since Steel Magnolias. It hasn't moved.
I would say that that's not the only part of Dolly Parton's body that is transcendent of time. But,
these little guys, you mean?
Yeah, the little's maybe the wrong adjective, but yes, it's. I remember The Cutting Edge too. Is that the one where the hockey player and the ice skater?
Good job.
That's the original, but I haven't seen the second one, so I don't know what.
Yeah, Fire and Ice. That's the whole. Those two elements don't belong together. It's gonna get nuts.
Wacky hijinks. It sounds amazing to me. I'm super excited to watch it. I have no life. What's Alex Winter been up to?
You know, he's going to be in the next unannounced, or not unannounced, but announced, but untitled Bill and Ted project.
Keanu said he'd do it.
Yeah. How do we feel about this? Because, guys, things that come back after a long time kind of suck.
Yeah, I would be up for it. My fear with this is that what they try to do with a lot of sequels that we've been waiting forever to get made is they'll end up taking the original characters and then making it more about their offspring than it is about them. And I don't want to see that with Bill and Ted. Like, obviously, if they have kids or something like that, that'd be fun. But the end of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and really Excellent Adventure for that matter, is like they changed the entire galaxy. They changed the entire universe. Their music was so powerful. It brought peace to the galaxy. It aligned the planets. So I don't really want to see a movie about them just being like normal dads that have to go on a time travel adventure. Like, let's make this baby big. Let's make it intergalactic. Let's put Station from Bogus Journey back in there. Let's have some fun with this. Let's go nuts.
What was the name of their band? I just watched this and I can't remember.
Wild Stallions.
Wild Stallion. Yeah. I feel like that's a piece of trivia that we should know.
It'll be on the Schmodown for us.
It will. Oh God, we got to prepare for that.
I'm not preparing.
Jesus.
Get ready, ladies. Yeah.
I'm super nervous about this.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be all Napoleon Dynamite and the Cutting Edge 2 Fire and Ice question.
I got to watch that then.
Yes.
You're right. I do need to prepare.
So excited. It's a great film.
But yeah, I'm a little concerned only because, you know, Zoolander 2 is so bad. And
yeah, that was rough. But see, the thing with Zoolander 2 is that Zoolander is it's almost like Napoleon Dynamite, that it's such an odd sense of humor. And the first one it found that hook. And the second one is just trying to recapture that hook, and it just never did. I think Bill and Ted is more straight up as far as, you know, a fun comedy and some adventure and science fiction in there too. So I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't even worry about, because Keanu Reeves practically hasn't aged. Alice Winter, I have no idea how he's looking now, but I think those two guys, it's something that I'd be up for. And I think that maybe because I see all these movies now, like, I'm less concerned about legacy than I had been before. With something like Star Wars, yes, I really care about the legacy. But even Indiana Jones, like, I've gotten over Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We made a bad movie. Let's try to do another one that's better next time in 2019. So if Bill and Ted want to try it, and look, I feel the same way about Bogus Journey that I do about Back to the Future too, is that it's not a great movie. It's just, there's some things I like about it, but it's not a great film. So what legacy are we really worried about here? Let's try to have some fun with it and, you know, do something a little modern and different.
True. And Geek Furious has a good title for us. Bill and Ted 3 Stallions of the Galaxy Volume 47. So thank you for that contribution.
I don't hate that at all. I kind of love that, actually.
Let's go ahead and move it on to our links off of, Mark, if you want to go first, you're linking off of Bill and Ted, or we can link off of Napoleon Dynamite. It's up to you.
I can link off. Would you prefer me to do something in the time travel realm, or would you prefer me to take a different hit?
You can go whichever way you'd like.
Because I think I'd like to stick on the subject of time travel, and it's something that I'm not sure you guys are going to bring up later in the show. I think one of the underrated time travel devices in these kind of movies is the little car into a sling that they have to transport the TEC officers back in time in Time Cop.
Someone in the chat had said he better bring up Time Cop.
Of course I'm going to bring up Time Cop. I think the Time Cop is, honestly, even though it takes place in 94 and he's going, or actually it takes place in 2004, but he's going back to 94 to try to save his wife's life. And the future in 2004 is very different than the future we actually got in 2004 than the future it is now. Having said all that, I still think that this movie holds up perhaps the best of any of Van Damme's movies, just because it takes itself seriously enough, but it's never so serious. It has some fun with what it's doing as well. And yeah, people can talk about like the scene where he does the splits on the counter, and that's just like a classic Van Damme. You know, I'm just going to show off how good a shape I got into this movie for, but it's really got his best acting performance. It's got some great action. Ron Silver crushes it as the bad guy that's running for president. I really, really like Time Cop, and I think it still holds up.
Nice. I've never seen it.
Me either.
Yay, we're going to see it.
You guys have homework, okay? Stacey Howard, you are not allowed to watch the Dolly Parton movie until you watch Time Cop.
Damn it! Okay, all right, but can I do like can I have one on the laptop and one on like the
you have to do my attention is on this right now. And you love Van Damme and Van Damme trivia. So.
I do love Van Damme.
Plus they did this on How Did this get made? So
this is true.
I think.
I'm going to side with Brienne here because I think Brienne is more in tune with what Time Cop has to offer you, Stacey. Is that it's something that it's not like Death Warrant, it's not like Lionheart where you just put them on and they're fun background movies. You got to focus on Time Cop. You got to know what's going on. And Time Cop, to this day, one of my favorite trailers of all time. If you guys should, and everybody watch this right now, after the show, go and YouTube the Time Cop trailer, because it starts out like old-timey Universal, and it's like in the 1920s. Then all of a sudden you realize that even though this scene takes place in the 1920s, we're dealing with time travel. The way they introduce it is so kick-ass. I love it. And I remember when I was a kid, I went to go see the Alec Baldwin movie, The Shadow. Only the Shadow knows. And we were kind of excited to see The Shadow. And I had no idea that Time Cop was a movie that was coming out, but I was a huge Van Damme fan. So I'm sitting in the theater and the previews start, and I see this thing, and then when you get the reveal that Van Damme is in this new kick-ass, science fiction movie, my head exploded in the theater, and there was a puddle of little chubby Mark Ellis on the floor that they had to mop up. That's how excited I was.
I will watch that trailer as long as you watch the cliffhanger trailer, which I think is the best trailer of all time.
That is actually a very good point. Yeah, you have homework too, Mr. Ellis.
I have seen you ladies gush about cliffhanger. I've seen it on a number of occasions, and it actually like that opening scene is so heartbreaking. It's hard for me to watch the rest of Cliffhanger because it's so intense. It's a really that might be Rennie Harlan's masterwork. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good.
Shit. That's good.
I'm putting a reel together, and it's like all me talking about Cliffhanger in different like scenarios
with
too.
My Rocky impressions on just as the background noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a bet with myself as to how long it's going to take you guys to reference Cliffhanger, because I know you guys love it so much, and I actually lost. I thought that it would have already happened by now. So congrats on your ability to restrain yourselves from jumping into Cliffhanger prematurely.
Thank you.
Well, the second you mentioned Time Cop, we were like, okay, we got to mention our favorite thing. Like,
you said the trailer, your favorite trailer. So
yeah.
Right.
Anyways,
right.
What is your other film, Mark?
My other film is going to be something that's looking at me right in the face because it stars Keanu Reeves and it's on the poster that is on our set currently, because it's one of our favorite movies. And when you talk about sequels, it's something that I hope holds up to the original, and that would be Keanu Reeves in John Wick. And John Wick 2 is being filmed right now. I believe they're definitely going to reference the Continental Hotel, which was such an interesting journey into the underground world of the hitman. And I like that this movie didn't need to apologize for having such a simple premise. They killed the guy's dog. He's pissed off about it, and he's going to go get revenge with anybody and everybody that's ever crossed him. I love it. It's so simple, and Keanu Reeves was great.
And it looks great, and it's perfect. And I love John Wick so much.
And that it's sad in the beginning.
Super
sad.
Like,
but wait, you're not going to let this go. So you're crazy.
Yeah.
And
you know what's really sad is that I get a lot more emotional at the beginning of John Wick than I do at the beginning of Cliffhanger. Like that's that's a person that dropped off the cliff, and I was like, we're gonna have to get over it. And then the dog dies. I'm like, we gotta kill everybody.
Well, it was an adorable dog with the perfect little wet nose.
Yeah, at least make it not that like appealing of a dog. Like all dogs are great, but like don't make it the cutest dog in the world on top of it.
Make it like an older dog. Maybe it's got like the one little tooth that sticks out a little bit.
Yeah, just have him say something like, well, boy, we've had 12 great years together or something. Like let me know the dog's had a good life. They just murdered that dog. It pissed me off.
It was a puppy. A little girl puppy.
Yeah.
Daisy. Oh. Let's have a moment for Daisy. Okay, we had our moment.
We are.
I'm thinking of
dog. I'm thinking of other dogs that die in film, and all I can think of is fear. Anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and do our links since we have a specific time close today. Mm-hmm. So we're linking off of Napoleon Dynamite, and we did movies with llamas in them.
Yes.
I'm starting with a favorite film of Mark Ellis's. I specifically chose this for you. And it is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Now, I don't know if there's an actual llama in this movie, but for some reason in the credits, like at some point, the credits just keep going, and then they like start calling everyone llama. This llama, that llama, Brienne llama, Stacy llama, Mark llama. And so I was like, okay, there's a llama in this movie.
It's still the funniest movie ever made, in my opinion. I think that it narrowly edges out Animal House as the greatest display of comedy ever put on film in cinematic form. It is just so funny. Like you said, the llama reference, it's just so random and nonsensical and silly, but it just gets into your gut, and it's a nonstop rollicking display of how funny human beings can be when they put their minds to it. It is just fall down funny start to finish.
Have you seen this, Stacey?
I have, but I haven't seen it like start to finish, like sat down.
It's okay to say that you have not seen it.
No. I've seen all the little pieces to it. I haven't seen it.
I was going through like, what are my favorite scenes in this movie? And then I just pretty much was writing the entire film. So, but here, I'll run down some of my favorite. I'm not a witch. That's a favorite. You dress me up like this. Bring out your dead.
Her nose is actually a carrot.
Oh, of course it is.
There you go.
That.
Yeah, bring out your dead.
Call back to earlier. The African or European swallows carrying the coconuts. Like that's probably the one that I quote the most because I just think it's hilarious for some reason. Thou shall not pass, of course.
I love the killer bunny, the rabbit with the sharp pointy teeth and the holy hand grenade. 1, 2, 5, 3 set 3. That, and then obviously the Black Knight is maybe the most famous scene from the movie, and it's one of those things. But the opening credits of that movie are hysterical. It's just a black screen with writing, and it's one of the funniest movies ever just from the opening credits. It boggles my mind that a human being or a group of them can be that hilarious.
Very good. We're gonna have to move it to our next film so we can. I would love to gush more about Holy Grail. Maybe that'll be a whole episode.
I'll come back for the next one if we do Holy Grail. If you guys watch Time Cop, we can come back and do Holy Grail.
Holy Grail and Time Cop. We'll put it on there.
We'll find a link somehow.
We're going to do it.
So the movie I picked was a no-brainer for me. Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius.
Didn't see it.
Wow.
Didn't see it. You know what? Okay, so Carl, one of Jimmy's best friends, is obsessed with llamas. And they go to Llama World, and he just has this weird fixation on it. And I haven't seen this movie in several years, but it came out in 2001. So I think I was like 11. So it's that perfect age to kind of be into Jimmy Neutron. And they actually created, they wrote this as a pilot, and we're going to shoot it as just as the first episode for a series. And then they showed it to the animators over at Nickelodeon. They were like, make this a film. This is amazing. So they did. And then obviously the show followed from there. But if you're not familiar with Jimmy Neutron and that whole universe, it's a great little series. It has a woman that plays Jimmy. It's a boy little genius, and basically they go on all kinds of adventures. If you're into like Rick and Morty and stuff like that now, this was kind of like for kids back in the day. They just went on all kinds of grand adventures, and he had ridiculous friends, and they're just amazing. It's just an amazing show. It's super cool.
Is it kind of like Sherman and Mr. Peabody, where they use the way back and they go back in time?
Yeah, and he's always creating inventions, and then they always go awry, and like things happen, and there's little love interests and teachers. There's a teacher that literally looks like a bird.
Okay.
She's like, wah! and her voice is like that too, and it reminds me of every teacher I've ever had.
I remember that teacher. Yeah, I'm aware of Jimmy Neutron, and it was always a little weird how fixated Carl was on the llamas. I always thought it was kind of a weird relationship that he had with them. But Jimmy Neutron, you're right. It's just one of those things that like people are aware of, but it actually was some good content. And the show that followed, I think, was actually built upon the movie pretty well. But Brianne, you also bring up Peabody and Sherman from way back in the day with Rocky and Bullwinkle before any of us were even thoughts in our parents' eyes. But the movie that came out with Peabody and Sherman a couple years ago was really good, and it did very well. I want to see more Peabody and Sherman adventures.
I do too. So do my kids. So there we go. Those are our movies. Yay. We went from Back to the Future 2, then we linked it to movies with time machines. We did Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure as well as Napoleon Dynamite. From Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Mark took it and went to a movie with a time machine in it or whatever, Time Cop, and then to a Keanu Reeves movie with John Wick. And then from our link, we did Napoleon Dynamite movies with llamas. I did Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and Stacy did Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. Hooray.
I love that we went from Back to the Future 2 to Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. I think that I really, if I had a DeLorean, I would hop in it and I would go back to when, instead of picking John Wick, I probably should have taken Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and jumped off the fact that they go back to the Old West, meet Billy the Kid, and I could have kid to that movie right behind me. Too. But that's, hey, that's why we don't get time machines. But if Biff Tannen ever comes back with an almanac, I'm going to hop in the car and we can do the show again. And I'll be even better than my great debut performance was today.
We're going to save it. We're going to save it for next time. We're going to do Monty Python and the Holy Grail. We're going to do Time Cop. We're going to do Young Guns 2. All the hits. All the Mark Ellis hits. That's our link. Mark Ellis hits.
And the Cutting Edge 2 Fire and Ice, of course.
We still have a few things that we need to do for our ending.
Okay.
We do movie link tweets, and basically what I do is I tweet out what's your favorite time movie that features a time machine. Here's what I got back. I'm just going to read a few. I'm just going to read the movies. Sorry, I'm not going to read the names today because we don't have time for that, unfortunately. Back to the Future, The Time Machine, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Looper, Primer, Terminator 2, Time Machine, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Favorite choice.
The Philadelphia Experiment, True Time Crimes, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. We all know who gave us Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, right? Travis Wadowski.
Oh, Travis, of course.
Yes.
Well done, Travis.
Loves that.
Good job.
And then we also link it to Kevin Bacon, which is a pretty quick link.
Always. Kevin Bacon was in Hollow Man with Elizabeth Shue, who was in Back to the Future Part 2. Barely, can I just say.
Yes.
Okay.
And now we're at our final segment where we ask, would Back to the Future Part 2 be better with Sylvester Stallone as Rocky, as Doc Brown?
Okay.
So Mark Ellis is going to be playing the part of Marty McFly. He's going to say his line, and then you will have your line.
Okay.
All right. I am excited to see whether I do a better Marty McFly or whether Stacy does a better Stallone as Doc Brown. The fans will decide. All right. Are you ready, Stacy? Are you complete with your process?
I'm complete with my process. Just give me a... All right. Good. Go.
All right. I don't get it, Doc. I mean, how can all this be happening? It's like we're in hell or something.
No, it's a valley. Although I can't imagine hell being much worse. Yo!
That you have bested me. That was amazing.
Oh,
and scene. I know it's a craft. You know, it's a craft, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was getting like that was a pre-cliffhanger Stallone. That was more like a Rocky 3, maybe like a Nighthawks kind of era Sylvester Stallone. So very well done.
Yeah, maybe Italian Stallion era Stallone.
Well, I mean, he's never not going to be the Italian Stallion.
This is true.
Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us on our 1-year anniversary of our podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
Where can we find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Mark Ellis Live, and then of course check out Christian and I's show Schmoes Know by subscribing right here on YouTube to our movie review channel. And congratulations on one fantastic year. I hope to come back before the next anniversary. And in the meantime, next time you guys are out this way, I do owe you guys a birthday treat at our favorite place, Panera. I will be waiting for you guys. Cupcakes on the house.
Oh, thanks. You know, cupcakes are my favorite. Brienne, where can we find you?
So many places. You can find me burning my tongue on a hot cup of tea just this morning. You can also find me on Twitter.
Ice it next time.
Ice it, Stacy.
You can find me on Twitter at SOHoward2012. Just live tweeting movies all the time, every day.
There it is.
There it is.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mark, for joining us. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. 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 Bye.